That's what Project 412 is about. Whether it's public art, free concerts in the park in the summertime, through this hot dish event, through some other things we're doing, we want to bring people together so that you'll maybe meet somebody new, build a new connection, because it's through telling stories that your lives get better.
Welcome to Creative Creative. I'm Dawn.
And I'm Ruth.
How was your day?
My day has been good. I was at church this morning, and tonight there's counsel.
And you ran home in between to do this podcast.
Yes. I'm going to do counsel over Zoom because we have that option. I have to go back out.
Excellent.
Half of our counsel are snowbirds.
They're gone.
They're gone. They joined by Zoom. So every other month, I'm kind of like, you know what?
I'm going to do that.
Yeah, it's 25 minutes there and back. That's almost an hour of my life.
Yeah, where you could listen to other podcasts.
Yes, sometimes that's nice, of course, but I think I'll join by Zoom tonight.
Hello to all our listeners who are listening while driving.
Yes. Then it will allow me to go to yoga.
You must.
Yep. Yeah, I need that more than I need to drive for an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me about your day.
One of my top 10 favorite things happened today in that we left to do one thing and ended up doing 6 other fun things.
Oh my gosh, yay.
We went to her dance class, and my friend Leisha was going to this concert at the Episcopal Church, which I've been to the Lenten Lynching concerts before. So I was like, we're going to stop and get lunch things and then go. And then we sat outside the church and ate and went to this concert. So I was at an organ concert with a toddler, but it worked out because she really wanted to listen and then fell asleep.
That's nice.
And then we went to this playground that we hadn't been to yet since last summer.
Yeah.
And then Lucy and Leisha played together while I coached outside, which also hasn't happened since last fall that I'm outside coaching.
Yeah. So what a day.
How was your weekend?
It was quite a weekend. We had a blizzard, but most of that snow has melted already.
Okay, March.
Yep. Yeah. Sunday was church, and then I had a first communion class. It went fast. But you, I hear, had some exciting things.
Yeah. We did our normal Saturday morning, but I have a friend who started at the Museum of Art and Design. She said something that overlapped with one of our clients, which was they've never had the prestige of like the Met and the MoMA because they are mostly showcasing craft.
Oh.
And women's work is not as important.
Who was our guest who was talking about that?
I think it was Stitchology, Tina Krog.
Yeah.
Why do we think crafting is not as important? Because that's what women were doing.
Yeah.
They were showcasing Barbie.
I love that.
And the designers that made special edition Barbies. The highlight in my mind was this drag queen Barbie. Excellent performer.
Yay.
So well done. Respectful, kind, life of the party, mixing all ages.
So fun.
And then we couldn't stay for the whole thing because I had tickets to Gypsy on Broadway.
And yes, I want to hear about Gypsy.
I've seen it on Broadway twice before. It comes up about every 10 years-ish.
Oh, okay.
This was the first production where they have made the primary family Black.
Oh, okay.
So it does shift the vaudeville background of those people a bit because they had access to different things.
Yeah.
And still working for white theater owners. And the main role is not Gypsy, but her mother. Mama Rose is one of these tour de force role in the American theater canon, and all these very strong women do it. But Audra McDonald has more Tonys than any living person.
Yeah.
And she was doing it. And the marquee just says, Audra, Gypsy. Like,
Oh,
people know.
yeah.
And it is all about her. But everyone was great. But there's never been a non-belter. Like, she's a legit singer.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see the way she did this famous breakdown 11 o'clock number, singing not in her chest voice, but in her operatic voice.
Very cool. So you got a lot done this weekend, it sounds like.
Life ebbs and flows in funny ways. Okay, and Amy.
Yes, we were lucky to have Amy Stearns, who lives in my community and has done amazing things to bring creativity to life here in this town.
She is not alone in being creative in a small town. She is thinking so globally and connected and willing to go big. It's so striking because when I was in high school in Fargo, North Dakota, I knew people that had been on Broadway or done various things, but it all felt so far away. It didn't feel like we could connect into it. And she just is, here's this great artist. I'm just going to see if he'll do a bunch of sculptures in our tiny town.
And she was always that way when she worked at the theater, too. She was always bringing in really interesting things. It makes everybody dream bigger when you see creativity like that and big thinking.
I just love that energy of connecting into really big things.
Everyone's going to love this interview with Amy.
Enjoy, Amy.
So, Amy, would you mind taking a few minutes just to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Stearns, and I am with Project 412 in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. I am the executive director of our little nonprofit organization.
Did you grow up here in the Detroit Lakes area?
No, I did not. We moved here about 20 years ago. I did grow up nearby, about an hour away on Otter Tail Lake.
Oh, I grew up in Henning.
Oh, that's right. Well, I dated a guy from Henning.
Who is that?
Kind better.
No way. How long did you date him?
Sporadically for a year and a half.
And was that in high school?
No, college.
In college. Oh, he's a cutie patootie.
It was like that. We had a good time, but we were not meant for each other.
That's funny. Don, he was my pastor's son.
Oh,
yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So then, do you know Dolores Cordes?
Sure.
She introduced us.
Really?
At Granny's Pantry in Battle Lake.
Oh my goodness. What a small world. I love it. Okay. So you came to the Detroit Lakes area and worked for a long time doing other things here.
Yeah, my background is after college, I did some traveling and performing for an international group called Up With People. And
Oh my gosh.
We're obsessed with Up With People. Show choir aficionado.
I'm a very good chorus member. I am not a lead singer by any means, but I can vamp with the best of them. We lived in Minneapolis for a number of years, my husband and I, and then he had an opportunity to move to Detroit Lake. We'd had our first child, and you know how that goes, you're kind of tired. I was working in marketing and PR for Fortune 500 companies. It was time to do something different, so we moved here, and for 20 years, I managed the Historic Homes Theater, a small performing arts center. And then fall of 2022, along with a few others, we started this little crazy placemaking organization called Project 412.
Now, I think that Project 412 is so interesting. Could you go into depth a little bit about it?
Sure, of course. So first of all, the name, Project 412. So 412, it's not our area code. It's not some secret number or anything. What it stands for is a little bit of a nod to the history of Detroit Lakes. They used to always say back in the 70s and 80s that this was the 412 Lakes District. And so there are 412 lakes within 25 miles of Detroit Lakes. And my silly little joke is that Google Maps ruined it and somebody counted and there's really 428 lakes. I don't know why they stopped using the 412 name, but we liked it because it was a way to honor the history. There's people who have lived in this area who made some really great decisions before us. And we wanted to celebrate that, build on that. They invested in really some great community things in Detroit Lakes, such as we have a great school system, great hospital, medical system. They brought back Detroit Mountain. There's the Detroit Lakes Community and Cultural Center, which is home to the Historic Homes Theater. There's all these things people invest in. And we want to honor that, celebrate that, and keep moving forward. What can we do to keep making Detroit Lakes an even better place for those of us who live here?
And so this began, a series of conversations?
It was a bunch of conversations. It was this desire to bring some of those things seen in our travels. You know, when you see something cool and you're like, I wish we had that in our community. Those ideas that are out there floating around, and how could we bring those to Detroit Lakes and make Detroit Lakes an even better place? And so there were a few of us that were texting back and forth, sharing ideas. Then we got together and met, talked, and decided to make something happen.
Yeah, it's been really beautiful to see these things come to life around us, art and gatherings. Could you share some of the things that Project 412 has done?
We started in September of 2022. And the very first thing we started doing was we decided to light up the city park.
Yes.
So we did that. And then there was a young friend of mine who suggested I contact a young friend of hers who had these cave people that were in plexiglass. And he's an artist out of Minneapolis named Zach Schumack. And he had done these cave people during COVID and hid them in a park in Minneapolis. I was like, that's fun. So we brought these two cave people to Detroit Lakes. And then that just kind of sparked more things. It got people talking, both in good and bad ways. Like, what is going on? Why are there cave people in the park? Some thought there are dead bodies, all of these crazy things. In my years of working at the homes, I always ask artists, what else do you have? What do you have in your back pocket? What is something you've always wanted to do? And Zach said, I've always wanted to build a Neolithic sculpture park. I don't really know what that means. And he said, I want to build a giant woolly mammoth out of sticks. I knew we had been talking to Thomas Dalma, who's a recycled artist out of Denmark, and he builds these giant trolls out of sticks. Well, that's intriguing. Maybe we could learn something. So we built a big woolly mammoth at Detroit Mountain, our local ski hill, in the winter. And it was quite the experience to work with Zach and a couple of his other buddies and try to build this crazy thing in the wintertime. And then also kind of simultaneously, we got word that we received a grant from the Blandin Foundation to add color to Detroit Lakes, basically to infuse the community with color. And that was in the form of murals, utility box wraps, and what we called art surprises. So those little things that when you're walking along the sidewalk and you're like, a mouse and a cat having coffee, you see a little mushroom painted on the sidewalk. We started calls for artists and added 7 or 8 murals, 12 utility box wraps, and 20 art surprises.
Yeah.
How do you explain the importance of public art to people resistant to the money or human power it's taking? You must have a nice speech about it. I want to know.
Public art is just one of those things that I think is a way for people to understand that that's what makes a community special. When you go to a community and you get that sense that people care about this community, and it could be in the form of really beautiful potted plants around a downtown area, or it could be that the signage is good or interesting, or it could be big murals, public sculptures, or whatever it is. You feel better about where you live. That's the same with communities. And I think that's the role public art has, that as we care for that and we show signs of improving something, there's a lot of communities that have old buildings that have been let go. But sometimes if you add a mural to that, you can add a splash of color. You can tell the history of a community through art. You shine a light on cultural aspects, or it can just be whimsical and fun. It doesn't always have to be serious. It could just be bright flowers. It adds a spark of joy, I think, to a community. And I think that makes it a better place to live.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I totally agree. It gives a sign that interesting things are happening in that community. And like you said, people care about it.
It is been fascinating as we've done these calls for art, because you might have in your head what you think should be the art.
Yeah.
And then you trust the artists. They have better ideas than you originally had. We've had some magnificent proposals come in for our community, and I love it.
Yeah. Speaking of art, we can't not talk about this because it made Times 100. What is the list called?
Detroit Lakes and our exhibit by Thomas Dombo was named on Time's list of 100 greatest places in the world. I mean, Ruth has behind her a map of the world, and this is amazing to have been chosen on this list.
Yeah.
I had no idea how we were chosen. Somebody must have nominated us. I know we have been very fortunate. We've had a lot of publicity about the trolls on USA Today, Washington Post, and a whole bunch of Star Tribune in Minneapolis and lots of different places. But this, to be included in this list, is crazy.
Yeah.
You named about 20 places in all of North America.
Yeah.
We're number 9, which just, I mean, it's unbelievable. So here's the map of the world's greatest place. And Detroit Lake
What's number one?
Number 1 in North America is the NHM Commons in Los Angeles. I honestly don't know what that is.
Okay.
By continent, there's not one best place in the earth.
Yeah, it's pretty special to have been honored with that and a meat award for Thomas Dombo, the artist, because he's an incredible man. And for our town, our lakefront community here in northwestern Minnesota, to get on some crazy list like this is outstanding.
How did you find out about it? Did you find out early or did you find out with everyone?
I did find out early. They had contacted our Chamber of Commerce, and then front desk gal emailed me, "Would you like to respond to this woman?" I was like, "Yes, I responded." Then it was crickets. We didn't hear anything. I sent all the information about Thomas Dombo, his contact info, photos, and we heard nothing. My joke with my family was, because I'd only told my family about it, was no matter what, we're going to be 101. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
And then we found out just a few days before they were announcing it, and we were under embargo, and I had to keep it a secret. No fitting a burst. It's pretty cool.
That's so.
I hope it inspires people to get off of the beaten path a little bit.
Yes.
I would not say Detroit Lakes is on anyone's top list to visit normally. There's so many great places to go in the world, and we're not off a major highway, but we are such a special place. Ruth lives here. She knows this community has amazing people. It's a beautiful environment with lakes, forests, and trees. It's a great place to be. It's cool to be highlighted like that.
I did want to ask, with the Thomas Dombo connection, how did that come about that he chose and you found him, and how did that connection happen?
So there's about 3 or 4 of us who founded Project 412. And so one of our founders is also on our board of directors, and he had been in Breckenridge, Colorado. And he had seen one of Thomas' trolls there. And that troll was causing a problem for the community because it was causing so much traffic. And so they had to actually move the troll. So he brought this to us, and he was like, "What do you guys think of this idea? And wouldn't that be a great problem to have if we had so much traffic in Detroit Lakes so we had to move a troll?" And then it kind of steamrolled from there. We started having a few conversations with Thomas and his team, started having some email exchange and some Zoom conversations and all of that. And over the course of about 18 months, we started planning. Originally, we were just going to build 2 of his trolls. And then we went to building 4 and it kept steamrolling. Now we have 5 trolls, a golden rabbit, and 3 portals. The portals are part of the whole story of Alexa's Elixir, which is the name of the exhibition.
I'm struck by being from a small town in Minnesota. I am fascinated with how big you're thinking. We could get this international artist and it gets the attention of Time Magazine, and it already has had a lot of national news. Like, I want to know where your world got so big, because some people from these small towns stay in their small town and they're lovely people, and I've been there. And then some start to think, how do we interact with the entire globe? How did that happen?
That's a great question. I've been asked that before, and I don't know if I have a good answer. I was with a great family, great parents who encouraged creativity. I am an only child. Maybe that has something to do with it. You know, I had to entertain myself many a time. I'm an avid reader, but also as we started Project 412, there was almost a license, if you will, to just really dream big. And when I worked at the Holmes Theater, that was also the case. Like, I was able to dream big there too and try different things. But there's more to it when you're running a building and you got staff and you've got lots of obligations. And this Project 412, this placemaking group, you know, we have a very broad mission and we have a simple mantra, DCS, we're going to do cool stuff. Where I might meet. And boy, then when you cast a net wide, it helps you dream big. I'm not afraid to pick up the phone and ask a silly question. There's so much I don't know. The older I get, the more I know that I don't.
It's the sign of an intelligent person, though.
So I don't know the answer to that. I love to see possibility in lots of things. I am a very positive person, sometimes to a fault. I just think good will win the day, always. In the end, I have a good faith. I have a phenomenal husband who supports crazy ideas. I recognize how blessed I've been because I understand having the flexibility to be creative means that you're more comfortable in life. I'm not worrying about where I'm going to eat tonight or what I'm going to eat. If you have that worry in your world, it probably does constrict your thinking, I would think.
Well, your creativity becomes, what will I find to eat? That's how you're creative.
Correct. Yeah. And I see a lot of opportunity in people. I'm very fascinated by people. I think people have great stories to tell and everyone has something to offer. I love hearing what an artist has in their back pocket, they're thinking to do. And I love to see if we can incorporate it into our community.
And speaking of stories to tell, it seems like you've done a good job of helping entrepreneurs and small businesses share their stories. Can you talk about that?
Oh, absolutely. Small towns thrive. Any town thrives. The small businesses on those entrepreneurs who had the guts to open a little bricks and mortar building or a boutique, tried something new, or like you folks with your podcast, trying to put something out there in the world to make a difference. And I think those people need to be celebrated more and tell those stories better and maybe encourage somebody else to try something, because everybody has an idea of something they want to do or improve upon. People that put ideas out there in the world and impact our communities and make the place better.
I haven't been able to go to one yet, but at the brewery, the Bucks Mill, what is it? People share their ideas.
We started something called a hot dish.
Perfect. In Minnesota.
Minnesota, right? That concept is because as we were starting Project 12, a lot of people would call with their idea that we should do. And it's really hard. So we came up with this idea of let's have people dish their hot idea in the world. There aren't that many new ideas. I thought somebody somewhere has done something like this. So did a bunch of scouring of the internet, and my colleague found an organization called Soup. The concept behind Soup is very similar to what we're doing with Hot Dish. But we decided to keep the name Hot Dish because it's so perfect for Minnesota. The people from Soup were generous with their learnings. People submit their ideas on a simple Google form for community building. It could be free ice skate rentals, or it could be that they want to start a square dance club, or they want to do a lecture series, whatever their idea is for building community. We have a little jury that reviews them and we choose 4. And those 4 people present their idea to the public in a public event that we call Hot Dish. And people come and they pay $5 at our local brewery. They get a plate of tater tot hot dish and 1 vote. And then they vote for their favorite. Those 4.
So good.
If there's 200 people at $5 a pop, it's $1,000, and that winner gets the $1,000 to launch their idea.
Seed money.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to enter next time.
Yeah. I love that idea. I definitely want to come and see it next time.
And you'll get a meal for $5.
Exactly.
It's a fun community building thing, and that's what Project 412 is about. Whether it's public art, free concerts in the park in the summertime, through this hot dish event, through some other things we're doing, we want to bring people together so that you'll maybe meet somebody new, build a new connection, because it's through telling stories that your lives get better, right? It goes back.
Have other other communities been contacting you to get ideas for their own?
Yes, it's really flattering. I've been inundated in a good way. That's great. Every community should have an organization like Project 412. It's trying to be a better place to live. It's been fun to talk to other communities and share what we've done.
Where's the funding coming from?
We have 3 sources of funding. We raised our initial funding, which we call our G&A, our foundational. It's general and administrative is our foundational funding. That's for the computer's office. We raised that separately. That was one bucket. When we've done big projects like murals or Thomas Down Troll, we found sponsors specifically for that. And then we have a bucket that we call our Waymaker Fund. And that funds everything else. And we have this big, hairy, audacious goal of trying to find 412 people to give $412 a year for 4 years and 12 months. It's just an earworm. How can we get at least 412 people invested in what we're doing to make the community better? Whether they give $412 or they give $4,000 or $40, it's about building community, people involved. Those dollars are able to have those matched by a local foundation, and those go 100% back into the community, do all the cool stuff. So they support the hot dish event, the art surprises, some of the murals, concerts in parks, some other public art events, the entrepreneurship, coaching, and events that we're doing with that. So it's a pretty good model.
So it's privately funded. You must have a good relationship with the mayor's office.
Oh, the city of Detroit Lakes is phenomenal. And the county, Becker County, we went to both entities and governmental agencies, and they have so many rules they have to follow and things, policies. We went to both of them, and for example, with the trolls, and said, hey, we'd like to build a troll on your land. Okay, said yes. Easier for them to say yes than no. I can't say enough good things about the county and the city. We are a separate organization. We're a placemaking organization. We're not a city. We're not the county. We're not the chamber. We're not the tourism bureau. We have the flexibility to be nimble and do our own thing, which is great.
Was it hard to find locations to build the trolls?
Thomas and his wife and the twins came here and spent 3-4 days, and we hiked all over Becker County. And of course, we wanted it to be on public land. We wanted them to be accessible. We wanted them to be in a spot that could shine a light on a spot of town or an area of the community that wasn't as popular, perhaps. And then Thomas didn't want them too easy to find. He wanted it to be hard because his mantra is that if it was easy, everyone would do it. And so there are a couple trolls that are pretty hard to find. But his whole thing is that as human beings, we haven't been as kind as we should to each other. We haven't been as good to the environment as we should. So in the process of looking and doing the troll hunt, you build community because you're visiting with people. You might be other troll hunters about everything.
I love that. And I also thought it was wonderful how many volunteers came together to build things. Talk about that a little bit.
That gave me pause, I must admit it, because we had to find volunteers that would be available Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 4:30, and Fridays, 8:30 to 1:30. And we needed to have 12 volunteers per troll for every hour. And then you start doing the math and the number of trolls we had and the number of days that we were doing this. And we had 472 time slots to fill. I panicked. I got up, went for a walk. How am I going to find 472 volunteers in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota? That's 5% of the population. They were able to work for free during the day. It couldn't be like me. There had to be some carpenters. They had to have some skills. And so that was a challenge. And we had more volunteers than we needed. And we also had to provide healthy vegetarian snacks and lunches for them. It was amazing. The church basement ladies came out with amazing hot dishes and so many snacks that we actually had to call off the snacks and say, we've got plenty. It's a great problem to have. We had just over 300 volunteers. Each of the snack providers, people who donated lodging, bicycles, and all sorts of things. It was an amazing place.
It really was. It was very cool to see just how the town got behind it.
Yeah. With all those people feel ownership of these because if they see anything wrong at any of the trolls, they text or call, hey, there's a piece of garbage by Long Life.
Wonderful. Our podcast is about creativity. I've always wanted to have you on the show because this is such a creative project. Do you have any other creative projects you work on or have time to work work on?
I listened to your podcast. And I love it because
Thank
I
you.
think you did that challenge in February, which I thought about doing, and then I knew I wasn't going to be able to commit to it.
Next February.
Next February. I feel like I've always been creative. I used to love to color and Mod Podge stuff and paint, all those things you do when you're a kid. And then you get into college and you maybe do not as much. Then you start working and having children, and then you're teaching them how to try to be creative. And so I'm not as good at doing it myself, taking the time to paint or do anything. I love taking classes. I also see a lot of creativity in everything. I'd love to try a different recipe. I think that's a form of being creative. I'm a little bit musical, so I like to try to tap out something, or just writing, I think, is a great form of release, and trying to read and do a poetry walk. I'm always one of the judges, so I never submit a poem, but I always write a poem because it's a good exercise to write something. I love that opportunity to be creative every day. I'm not always as creative as I'd like in true craft or hobby kind of thing. But recently, I think because the winter was so cold, I got into embroidery. And I hadn't done embroidery for years. I bought one of those little kits when I did it watching TV, and I'm like, this is awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
My daughter is super creative. I love seeing that in her.
Who are some of your favorite creators?
Since we've been talking about him, I better say Thomas Dommel, right?
Sure.
It is neat how he takes trash and makes new treasures. I recently read Brandi Carlisle's autobiography and actually listened to it, which was great because you heard her, she sang and her song. It was fabulous. And I really admire how she is so gutsy. She decided she wanted to meet Elton John because he's always been one of her people that she's always admired, and she contacted him. And I love that about what she does. From a visual standpoint, there was an artist who used to live here in DL. He has since passed on. His name was David Norstead, and did collage art. And I saw something different in every piece. There's another local artist named Hans Gilsdorf, a dear friend, creative with sculptures and painting. And I've been lately really into an environmental artist named Olga Zimska, who makes some really neat sculptures. These are so many, right?
Yeah. I asked that question because it gives us good recommendations of things to read.
Well, there's so many great authors out there. I'm in 2 book clubs, always exposed to new authors, and that's fun.
Yeah.
What are you reading for the book club?
What are we reading? Elizabeth Strout's Tell Me Everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Another one I'm reading is, what is the name of it? It's like Melissa
White.
won all these awards by the gal on SNL. Oh, here it is. The Melissa Quim School of Etiquette for Young Ladies of Mad Science.
Nice.
It's by Kate McKinnon.
Kate McKinnon.
It's a delightful little book.
How do you see creativity and spirituality connect?
Oh, just intertwined. I just think being spiritual is just, where do new ideas come from? Where do you get your inspiration? And I think it's sometimes in the quiet, and sometimes it's in nature. I think that's where you can be very spiritual. You're out walking along the lake, smelling the smells of the season, and it's inspiring. It makes you thankful for this beautiful world we live in, and it can spark ideas too. I think they're just interwoven.
I mentioned Dawn is a coach, and as part of our podcast, we always offer if there's something that you are thinking about or working on, if you might like some coaching today.
Sure. Lots of them.
Great. What's the thing you're noodling on right now? What's the next project?
If you could see my board, there's about 20 things we're working on. What concerns me or stresses me out the most is they always say you should prioritize, but right now everything is urgent.
Okay.
I get a lot of pull on my time.
Yep.
A lot of people want my time.
Yep.
I try to be mindful of that and set aside time just for me to do some of those things off that big list. But we are working on a really gargantuan project to get the whole community excited.
I can't wait.
It is a 53-acre garden and sculpture park.
Oh my gosh. How exciting.
Huge. And what do I know about building an arboretum? Nothing.
Bring it on.
Yeah. And so you get all these ideas coming at you, and there's so much possibility. And my question is, how do you create priorities? Because many of my things on that wall over there are dependent on other people too. For example, the garden system, we need a whole irrigation system put in. And I got a couple guys working on that, and they're trying to get the legal stuff taken care of so they can dig. And that takes a lot of time.
So if the year has 4 90-day goals in it, 3 months. Oh, it's perfect. Because we're just to the end of Q1.
Yep.
What's the April, May, June highest priority that gets your best time? It's not like the others get no time. But what's going to get your quality focus?
That's a good way to think of it. Yeah, to chunk it like that is good.
Yeah, the others are not gone. They're on a list for July 1st. And maybe if you need to keep these irrigation guys going, every other Monday you check in or whatever the schedule needs to be.
Right. They need to do the thing.
Yeah, they're moving the ball down the court. It doesn't even require your best energy right now. Where can you really have an impact and move something forward by June 30th?
That's really good advice. I like that concept of checking.
So if you had to pick one right now, what would it be?
We are doing a big event on April 12th. It's 4/12, of course. And we just have to be sure that we have all the stuff ready for that. Because that will be here before we know it. So I would say that's probably my most urgent priority at this moment in time.
So that will be from now till whatever, April 15, because there'll be some cleanup.
Yep.
So we'll go April 15 to July 15. We'll pick our own 90 days.
Yep.
What's going to be the way in which you can change the world the most?
That Olga Zimska that I was talking to you about, she's coming. She's going to come to DL and do a residency here. And it's going to be unbelievable because she's going to have 4 of her sculptures here.
Oh, wow.
Unlike the Thomas Downwell, which is more whimsical, and I don't like to label art. It's just different art. And so anyway, that's probably the thing. That will be the biggest in Q2.
In what ways are you the driver of it?
It's all me.
She'll do the art.
She'll do the art, of course. In terms of, we're fixing up a house for her at the moment.
Ooh.
And we're figuring out where the art will go in the sculpture park and figuring out signage and telling the story of it, the press releases, all that kind of stuff.
So everything else is a no. The other 18 things on the wall don't get your top energy.
That would be nice, Don. They can't, though, because also the trucks and tunes have to happen. Ruth knows this.
Yeah.
The Cal Park have to happen. They have to be set. And they're getting there. It's just, but you're right.
It doesn't get your best.
Yeah.
It gets secondary C+ energy.
Yeah.
The way people get burned out is trying to give everything A+ energy, and then it's impossible. And not seeing it move forward. We want something where we'll see what you did by July 15.
Isn't that so true? It is so impactful to see progress.
Yeah.
Right.
So something a 9-year-old could verify. Not like I thought about it.
Yeah, that is a great way to think about it. I love that.
So what will we see on July 15th as a result of prioritizing Olga?
Oh, all her sculptures will be out and there'll be great signage and there'll be some buzz about her, hopefully.
And what are you going to say to others who demand your time between now and 15?
It's a good thing I'm an empty nester right now. That's why you can have to say, what am I going to say to others? So I got some good tips on that.
One thing, people do calm down if you're like, that's my priority at the end of July, to tell them when you're going to get to it that you didn't forget. The other thing is to just say every Tuesday afternoon for 4 hours, you get all the other projects moving, but they have to stay in that fence, whatever. I don't know if you can do it in 4 hours.
Well, it's a good idea. Ruth, I think you had asked the question of if other communities have been contacting. That's the hardest thing, you guys, is my phone rings. I get emails. The other day I got emailed and I was so proud of myself yesterday because this woman emailed and she had at least 30 questions about the trolls and they were not simple answers. They were things like, how did you figure out the funding for this? How did you get approval? What licensure did you need? How did you do the insurance? All these kind of questions.
Yeah.
I just replied to her. I said, I cannot take the time now to write these up for you, but I would be happy to give you an hour of my time if you want to schedule something later in April.
Yeah, this is exactly it.
Yeah.
So you have things to say to people. Like that's an example. You have to decide who gets immediate access to you. I would imagine your immediate family, your closest coworker, and maybe one other person you haven't mentioned yet.
Yeah.
Like other people need to stay in the fence. You decide when they get you.
I love that.
And that's 4 hours on Tuesday afternoon and maybe half hour every morning with the emails.
Yes. The emails. What is a lot of them?
Oh, I bet there are.
And you could have just a general, here's about the trolls. All these other community, look at what you've written to one person, make it a little more generic and cut and paste and just say, here's what I tell communities in general. I am a department of one. I can't.
That's great advice because I do have some of that stuff written up. And I have often told people, you've almost met all of Project 412. I've almost seen all of my whole entire staff.
And if you do write up something, you could add this podcast to listen to this podcast.
Definitely will, because we're also creating on our website a kind of like seen in or as heard on.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of links out there. And
you've got a local person interviewing you. So it's more.
It's cool. What Ruth does in our community is just great. How do you two know each other?
We were both part of a music ministry organization, but not at the same time. And then we were both at seminary.
What was the music group?
Lutheran Youth Encounter.
What?
I know it's not as cool as Up with People, though.
I know. I think it's so cool that you did Up with People. How long was that you did that?
I performed with them for a year, and then I worked for them for 2 years.
Oh.
Is that where you developed your worldwide view?
Probably personally. I've always had wanderlust. I traveled a lot. I backpacked with friends in Europe.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to be in Berlin 3 weeks after the wall came down. I mean, I have an English and history degree, so I'm an avid reader and interested in life that way. So all of that kind of pulls together probably in that worldview. But yeah, when I was Up with People, I did it for a year. And then I was probably a little bit of a lost soul. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And I didn't really want to get off the road yet because it gets a little addictive.
Yes.
You know? And so they offered me a job doing marketing PR. I thought, oh, I can do this for a while. And then they dangled Australia. They're like, if you stay another year, we guarantee you'll go to Australia. I was like, well, okay, I'll do that.
So then you spent that year in Australia?
Not a whole year, but I was there 6-8 weeks.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Yeah.
And a lot of time in Canada and then the United States and then Scandinavian countries.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. When you were performing, was it basically like one night at a time in a place or?
It was usually like 3. You get in somewhere, do a day of outreach, like going into school or picking up trash along a highway or doing a little mini performance at a mall or something. And then there was a show day. Then we keep it up.
Yeah.
If it was a bigger city, then it was usually a week. Like when I did the gigs in Toronto, the cast I was working with was usually there for a week. But when I was working for them, I did the advanced team stuff. So I would go and spend 6 or 8 weeks somewhere and do all the prep and organizing. And then the cast of 100 and some people would arrive. But we'd arrange for all the billeting, all the meal, all the stuff.
Oh, how
It was
fun.
a great experience.
Yeah.
Great.
I love that.
All of that stemmed from like my time when I was at Augustana. My girlfriend and I led up this thing called the Fine Arts, kind of like student council thing that they had. We got into digging around and just imagining things that could be. We started an art gallery in our college because there wasn't one, but the college had a Picasso and it was just in storage. We're like, put it out.
Yeah.
Like that. So maybe some of the ideas came from that too.
Yeah, you're doing amazing things here in Detroit Lakes, and I can't thank you enough for, in your busy schedule, for giving us your time.
Oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate what you guys do. Your podcast is great. I've listened to it, and this is great what you are doing. And Ruth, you did such an excellent job when you did our deep dive DL. So thanks for being part of that.
Oh, that was fun.
It's been really fun. So it's really neat to see all the things that people are doing out there.
I know. Isn't it cool? People that making stuff. It's a beautiful thing. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you.
Ladies.
Quick note before we go. We're starting a new thing this month.
Yeah, we have now our own Patreon page. It means people who enjoy listening to us now have a way to connect more with us. And through this Patreon page, it's a place that we're going to be sharing some new things that we're doing. And then also people can join in at the different levels. There's different fun things that they get.
Yeah, I think part of our big motivation was there's going to be ways for people to connect with one another.
That's very exciting because we keep hearing people talking about how community is so important to them, especially in their creativity and helping to foster ideas. And so this is just one more way that we are excited to do that with our people.
Yeah, so it's like $5, $10, or $20 a month. Not major money. We hope that you'll jump in. And at $5, you get a sticker.
A created creative sticker.
Way of knowing you're part of the group.
Yeah.
At 10, you get all that. Plus, you get invited to our monthly creative, what are we calling it?
Container.
What that means is we'll all get on Zoom, do some kind of creative thing together
Mm-hmm.
that puts everyone on the same level. It's not going to be like who can draw the best bird.
No.
Something where we're all creative. Then we work and do show and tell.
Oh, I love that. I'm so excited about that because I think that it's going to be a great way to invest more in the things I'm working on and to get to know people.
And then at $20, you get all that plus a quarterly session where you can have the kind of coaching for me that you hear at the end of most episodes. So you bring a really specific question and we'll focus on it for 5 to 7 minutes.
Oh my gosh, that is a huge gift you're giving, Dawn. So thank you for sharing that with our listeners because it's going to be really cool. So that's our Patreon, and there's going to be links from now on in our show notes. You want to use the link because just with the algorithm on Patreon, it's hard to use the search function on there. So please use the direct link.
Join us.
And go create something.
I'll create something.